And hello, everybody. Vasu Vaddiparty here for the Make the Money and Run a Daily Sports Report, the post-game edition for Sunday, November 10th, 2020 on the East Coast, November 9th on the East Coast. I'm sorry, today's November 8th, still on the West Coast. I'm getting ahead of myself because I'm excited for MAC football. It's the only games I've won in the last 3 days in the MAC conference with Ball State and Miami of Ohio and teams such as that. But that's not what we're here to talk about today. We're here to talk about the NFL and what's going on with the NFL today. Anybody see that game tonight on Sunday night, or they were overblown with football all day? The Saints and Buccaneers, and it was a mismatch in favor of New Orleans. Who would have thought that New Orleans would have gone into Tampa Bay and beat Tom Brady and the Buccaneers? Bucs were on a roll coming into this week. Now they lose 38-3. Didn't even see that coming. It's one thing to lose, but 38-3 at home. Tom Brady did not have a good game. 3 interceptions. A couple of fumbles by other guys as well, too. Mike Evans, 4 catches, 64 yards. He was the leading receiver for Tampa Bay, but Drew Brees threw 4 touchdowns in that route, 38-3 for New Orleans. This is a big one for the Saints. They're 6-2, while Tampa Bay is 6-3, but you might as well add 2 games on that because they've got the home field. They've got the tiebreaker for the division because they beat the Buccaneers twice this year. Those of you that remember, they beat Tampa Bay 34-23 back in week 1. So the NFC South trying to take shape here as the New Orleans Saints come back and take over first place. Buccaneers 6-3. Both teams will get back at it next week as well, too. The other NFC South game was in Kansas City. The Carolina Panthers. You think one player makes a difference? Christian McCaffrey's been out for 6 weeks. Everybody thought the Chiefs were going to roll today. They were a 10-point favorite coming into the game, and a total of 51. It seemed to me like the Chiefs had an easy game going. McCaffrey was going to ease his way back in, but he scored a couple of touchdowns. Panthers not only covered the 10 points, they were about 10 yards away from beating Kansas City. 33-31, the Chiefs win. Travis Kelce, 10 catches, 159 yards. Carolina has lost 4 in a row. They're 3-6 now, and their hopes are pretty much done in the NFC South as well. Teddy Bridgewater had a good game as well, but it is Kansas City who did have the 372 yards and 4 touchdowns. My fantasy guy, Patrick Mahomes, a quarterback, 372 yards, 4 touchdowns, and they barely held on. A 68-yard field goal at the end by Sly was wide right. It was a good kick, but it was wide right, and the Panthers do not get the upset. Kansas City goes to 8-1. They are 3 games ahead of the Raiders as the Raiders played the Chargers. 31-26, the game came down to the final play. Donald Parham. If you look at 4 angles that they showed, the first 3 did not show the ball was dislodged by Isaiah Johnson on the defensive side, but the 4th angle showed the ball hitting the ground, which would have been the game-winning touchdown with no time left for Justin Herbert and the LA Chargers, who have lost 4 in a row. They're 2-6 now. The Raiders 5-3, definitely a playoff team. They're going to have to do better on the road, though. They're 1-2 on the road. This was their first road win, but it's kind of ironic the Raiders winning in Los Angeles against the Chargers, who are from San Diego. It doesn't seem like it had the old rivalry that it did. Justin Herbert, 326 yards, 2 touchdowns. Jacobs got a touchdown as well, too. Keenan Allen, who was questionable at the beginning of the day, 9 catches, 103 yards for 1 touchdown. And the Denver Broncos, they go into Atlanta. They lose 34-27. Drew Lock, 313 yards, 2 touchdowns in a losing cause for Denver. But Jerry Jeudy, 7 catches, 125 yards, and a touchdown. All the fantasy people are writing down that note now. Jerry Jeudy, hope he's available in free agency. Not sure that's going to be the case. But Atlanta and also ran in the NFC South at 3-6. Denver 3-5. Probably not in any playoff picture in anybody's case anyway. The game of the day, one of the games of the day, Seattle at Buffalo. The Buffalo Bills, a 3-point underdog, not getting the respect that they deserve in the AFC East. You know, they're probably going to end up running away with that division now. Miami did win. We'll get to the Dolphins in a second. But Josh Allen had 3 touchdown passes, 415 yards. Stephon Diggs, formerly of Minnesota, now with Buffalo, 9 catches, 118 yards in a 44-34 victory over the Seattle Seahawks. Seattle gave up 21 points to start the game. They made it close at the end. Russell Wilson had 4 turnovers, 3 interceptions, and a fumble lost in this game. 4 interceptions, actually, and a fumble lost. So 5 turnovers for Russell Wilson, I believe, was the final total. Don't know if they credited that fumble to him or not. But it's a 44-34 loss. Seattle's defense is horrible. I don't know how they're going to get through the playoffs and win the Super Bowl like they all expect to do, but you can't have this type of game even though you're on the road. Buffalo scored 44 points. Seattle and their MVP, Russell Wilson, did not have a good game. They got down big time. But it's a 44-34 win for Buffalo, 7-2, leading the AFC East. Seattle 6-2, a game ahead of the Arizona Cardinals. And why are they ahead of the Arizona Cardinals? Because the Cardinals lost to the Miami Dolphins at home 34-31, not because of Kyler Murray's fault. If Kyler Murray and the Cardinals had won this game, I would have suggested that he get MVP votes now for the rest of the year, because 283 yards passing, 3 touchdown passes, 11 carries, 106 yards of rushing touchdown. He's responsible for all 4 touchdowns for the Arizona Cardinals, but the defense could not hold up. They gave up 31 to the Seahawks 2 weeks ago. After the bye week, you think it'd be a little bit better, but the Dolphins come in behind Tua Tagovailoa, and they get the victory, 34-31. The Dolphins now 5-3, definitely in a playoff picture, 2 games back of the Buffalo Bills, who won their game against Seattle, as we said. So the Dolphins beat the Cardinals 34-31 in one of the afternoon games. Pittsburgh at Dallas. If you had Dallas as the team to upset Pittsburgh and end their undefeated streak for the year, you were close. The Cowboys had a lead 19-3. It was 19-6 at the half. 13-9 at the half. Steelers behind Roethlisberger get touchdowns in the fourth quarter. 3 touchdowns overall for Big Ben. Juju Smith-Schuster, 6 catches, 93 yards, touchdown. Steelers 8-0, 4-0 on the road. Cowboys down to 2-7, but 2-3 at home. So, and they're still not out of it, believe it or not. The Eagles only have 4 losses. The Giants get a victory over the Washington Football Club, 23-20. Their only 2 wins of the year have come against Washington. Alex Smith had to come in for Kyle Allen. He threw for 325 yards and a touchdown for Washington. But Wayne Gallman, 68 yards rushing and a touchdown. Terry McLaurin, 7 catches, 115 yards and a touchdown for the Washington Football Club. They're 2-6. The Giants are 2-7. The Eagles are 3-4-1 in the NFC East, and the Cowboys are 2-7. Go figure, this NFC East. So every game is a big game in the NFC East. Texans and the Jaguars. Texans a 27-25 victory. They're 2-6, 1-3 away. Jaguars 1-7. Jake Luton almost tied the game up. He started for Gardner Minshew, 304 yards, a touchdown for Jake Luton. Now he's going to be on fantasy football rosters. James Robinson, 99 yards rushing and a touchdown. And G.J. Chark, 7 catches, 146 yards with a touchdown. But the AFC South not going to be decided by these 2 teams, because in the earlier matchup, the Ravens and Colts played a huge game for Indianapolis at home, and they come out on the short end of the stick to the Baltimore Ravens. Both teams came in at 5-2. It was a good wild card test. Now the Ravens have the advantage with a 24-10 victory over Indianapolis. Phillip Rivers had 227 yards, no touchdowns, an interception. Michael Pittman, 4 carries, 4 receptions, 56 yards for Indianapolis. A 10-7 lead at the half with Lamar Jackson, and the Ravens got going. The defense picked it up. Rivers with that big interception after Indianapolis gotten the fumble recovery near the goal line. They were able to get 1 play in, and then Rivers threw the interception. Marcus Peters had a big game. He forced a fumble. He did get that 1 interception for Baltimore. They're 6-2. They're a game and a half back of they're 2 games back of the Steelers. And you take the head-to-head meeting that they had with Pittsburgh last week, they are now 3 games back of Pittsburgh in the AFC North. Indianapolis 5-3. Still in second place now, because the Titans, my Bears, I have to say it, my Bears, 24-3, the Titans were up. The Bears made it close to make it 24-17. Nick Foles had 335 yards and 2 touchdowns, but the offense still the problem. They couldn't convert inside the red zone. They had to settle for 17 points in the fourth quarter when it was all but done. Turnovers. A.J. Brown had 4 catches, 101 yards, 1 touchdown. Tannehill was okay. Derrick Henry had 68 yards for Tennessee. But now the Titans are 6-2. They're in first place, a game ahead of the Colts. A huge game Thursday night on Thursday Night Football with the Titans and the Colts coming up. It's going to decide the AFC South, at least for this round anyway. They play twice in the next 3 weeks, to the Titans and the Colts. So a big game for Tennessee to get this victory over the Bears. The Bears are 5-4. They're now 2 games back in the loss column behind the Packers, who won Thursday night in Santa Clara against the 49ers. Let's see here. Panthers, Chiefs, the Lions, and Vikings. How about Dalvin Cook? Dalvin Cook, 34-20, the Vikings over the Lions. Dalvin Cook, back-to-back weeks, 5 touchdowns. He rushed for 206 yards on 22 carries today. Kirk Cousins threw for 3 touchdowns. Watch out, Chicago. The Vikings and the Lions are coming up behind you right now. They're both 3-5. Probably not in any race, even for the wild card. But the way Chicago's playing right now, second place is in jeopardy with Minnesota and Detroit coming up from behind on there. Danny Amendola had 7 catches for 77 yards for Detroit as well. And we talked about the Steelers and Cowboys, Dolphins. Funny thing is, Make the Money and Run, powered by Stables Media. Don't forget to download Viget and download the app on your smart devices and your PCs. Use the promo code MTMAR. It's all for free. Sports wagers, sports enthusiasts, great conversation on there. Not a lot going on besides the NFL football. MAC football will come back Tuesday and Wednesday. Interesting note today, 5 favorites and 7 underdogs covered in Sunday football. 7 overs and 5 unders in the NFL as well, too. As far as our picks go for today, I ended up 0-1, 0-2, 0-3, 1-4 today. So I ended up 8-11 for the week. Casey had Arizona, Houston, and Las Vegas, so he went 1-2. So he ended up 7-3 for the week. Charlie went 2-1, and he's 2-5 for the week. We'll be back tomorrow at 4:10 Eastern, 1:10 Pacific with the Make the Money and Run Daily Sports Report. We'll go more into detail in the NFL with the 3 of us, but we want to talk about a little college football before we go. How about the college football on Saturday? All the 25 teams in the polls between the AP top 25 and the coaches poll are all pretty similar. The only differences are Florida and Texas A&M are switched between the AP poll and the coaches poll. Florida higher in the coaches poll at number 5, Texas A&M at 6. It's reversed in the top 25. Everybody's talking about BYU. BYU number 8. I think they should be higher. I think they're as good as any team. Probably not higher than Alabama, Notre Dame, Ohio State, Clemson, who are 1-4 in both polls. Clemson, Notre Dame, a great game last night in overtime, 47-40. Notre Dame with the victory. Ohio State got a victory over Rutgers. They're in 3rd. Nobody's talking about BYU. Indiana's off to a 3-0 start. They're in the 10 spot. Oregon and Georgia are 11-12 in the AP poll, flipped in the coaches poll as Oregon opened its Pac-12 season, 35-14 over Stanford. Marshall's in there at 15 and 16. Coastal Carolina, 7-0, now at number 17 in the coaches poll, number 15 in the AP poll. And the only teams that are in there that weren't in there last week, Louisiana not in the coaches poll at 6-1. Army is number 25 in the coaches poll. And Army is not in the AP poll. Louisiana Lafayette, 6-1 with 118 votes, is number 25 in the coaches poll. Great college football for week 10. Great NFL football for week 9. Hope you enjoyed your football today because we've got the Jets and the Patriots tomorrow night. I shouldn't bag on the Jets. They're 0-8, but the Patriots are 2-5. So we'll see how that game goes for Monday night. Cam Newton against Joe Flacco. Sam Darnold not going to play tomorrow night. We'll break that down. Why are we going to break that game down tomorrow? Well, because there's no other sports. This is Make the Money and Run, and we know there's going to be action on the game. So we have an idea that people are going to be interested in that. So don't forget to download, subscribe, rate, and review Make the Money and Run on all your podcasting outlets. We're on Facebook Live, 4:10 Eastern, 1:10 Pacific. Every Friday, the Make the Money and Run Friday football show, 1 Eastern, 10 a.m. Pacific. And then on Saturdays at 1 Eastern, 10 a.m. Pacific for the college football Saturdays. We break down the early games as well as update our picks for Saturdays and Sundays. Coming up. And then, of course, on Sundays now, due to the response that I've gotten back, these Sunday updates for fantasy football players and for late line movements, we're going to move the time to noon Eastern every Sunday now. Noon Eastern, 9 a.m. Pacific, where the pregame shows start. All the injury reports are out by 11:30 Eastern, and the late games, the injury reports are out by 2:30 Eastern. So you'll get all the latest information from us and Make the Money and Run to help you make your fantasy football picks, get your roster set, and get your game lines in action for your wagering for that Sunday as well. What is the National Football League? The National Football League right now after 9 weeks is a mishmash of everything. Clearly, the Steelers are the best team in the AFC, Kansas City right on their heels. In the NFC, take your pick right now. I thought Tampa Bay might be up there, but then New Orleans goes in and beats them 38-3 in Tampa Bay, host of the Buccaneers and host of the Super Bowl. My Bears are terrible. Don't know what to say about them. Packers won the other night. The 49ers are still in the playoff race with the Seattle loss and the Arizona loss. Rams had a bye week this week. So lots of things going on in the NFL. Lots of things going on in college football. Casey Freelove, Charlie O, Vasu Vaddiparty, your humble hosts every day here on Make the Money and Run. One last thing I wanted to get to. We lost a great one today. He defined class, he defined pride, he defined outstanding television over 50 years. Little known fact for me, Vasu Vaddiparty, I wish I had a picture to show, little Vasu Vaddiparty doing bowling for dollars in his house in the early 70s, early to mid 70s. All the game shows were the big thing for me back then in terms of what I liked way before sports. And Bob Barker, Monty Hall, Gene Rayburn, Bert Convey, all those guys, Alan Ludden, were all guys I watched in the 70s and 80s watching game shows. And Alex Trebek was also part of that genre as well, too, with different game shows. Unfortunately, pancreatic cancer got the best of him today. Alex Trebek passed away this morning from really late stages of cancer. He was a tough Canadian. There's no doubt about it. Apparently, his last taping was October 29th. So he would do his shows for as long as he could. Then he would go get treatment and he would come back and do a show. So a great one lost today in the world of television and entertainment. I know all the NFL games, NFL pregame shows mentioned it as well too today. Alex Trebek passes away, 1940 to 2020. What is class? That is Alex Trebek. For Make the Money and Run, the Daily Sports Report, the post-game edition for Week 9 of the NFL and Week 10 of college football. Don't forget to join us 4:10 Eastern, 1:10 Pacific. You can download us, subscribe, rate, and review on all the podcasting outlets. Don't forget Bigot as a sponsor. Use the promo code MTMAR, and we're always on Facebook Live every time we have a broadcast. Thanks to everybody who supported us. Thanks to everybody for the reviews. Thanks to everybody for the comments. We really appreciate it. Casey, Charlie, and I will be back at 4:10 tomorrow afternoon. Until then, have a great night and good luck.